Hello, everybody. It is great to be here one more time today. And my name is Gary Fowler, and I'm the CEO, president, and founder of GSD, Get You Done Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio located in the heart of Silicon Valley. I'm a 17-time serial entrepreneur with several unicorns under the belt. I was on the original management team of Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai and AA. It's your tech company that I co-founded with Dr. David Yang. We believe that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities are not. With that, I have my incredible guest today. So Mikhail Taver is a serial entrepreneur, is an investor. He's a partner at Taver Capital, the founder and managing partner at Taver Capital. He's a board member of Earth.ai, iFarm, Winmill, Prisma. So a lot of us have heard of Prisma. And with that, I'd like to talk to him about his investments and some of the things that he's looking at to make this world a better place. So with that, hi, Mikhail. How are you doing today?
Hi, Gary. Hi, Gary. Good, good. How are you?
Good, fantastic. So tell me a little bit about it. How did you get involved in venture capital?
Oh, it was a rather long path, but I could say that I'm a career investor. Actually, I've never done anything my entire life other than investing. I was born in the very north of Russia, Yakutia. They had those lonely, cold nights and absolutely nothing to do there. So I had this huge wall in my room packed with books, and one of those books was Theodore Dreiser's novels. So I read the Financier. I was about 6 or 7 years old, so I did not. Well, I mean, I now understand that I did not get pretty much anything out of it except for the concept of securities and shares, those little pieces of paper that can change the entire life of a person. And I got interested in that, and since then I kind of started gradually digging towards that direction. So when I went to do my GCSEs in the UK, I took economics and business studies and an A-levels and university. I kept on doing the same thing all over again. And this is how I basically trained myself to become an investor. After that, I went to investing. I worked for large investment groups dealing with quite a lot of large investments. And then I moved on, kind of came down to venture capitals, out of interest. To be honest, I'm driven by curiosity, and venture capital was something that I never tried before. So I decided to give it a try. And this is the area that now keeps exciting me every single day. So I don't think I'm getting tired of it. Moreover, I'm starting a new fund. So yeah.
No, that's fantastic. So how did you go? How did it feel going from Yakutia and then coming down to and then going to the UK? I mean, what kind of transition was that like? Here you are in the middle of nowhere, right? And in this cold place. How did you adapt? How was it to adapt to that new environment?
I don't know. I didn't quite notice that big of a problem, probably because I was too young then, and it kind of felt natural. I just, I was practicing English since I was in the kindergarten. So obviously, I did not speak any English when I came to the UK. I mean, I think I spoke. I thought so, but apparently I found out that I wasn't. But I was quick to pick it up. The best practice is to go to pubs, obviously. So I don't know, never had any problems. I was surrounded by new people. I was excited to learn new stuff about stuff that was interesting to me, stuff that I wanted to learn for 10, 15 years. And there I was. So
so Taver had been Gagarin before, right?
Yeah. Yes, this is
What's
correct.
the difference between Taver and Gagarin?
Except for the name, not much difference. It's pretty much the same fund. It's got the same portfolio. It's still got me. It's still got me sitting on board of the company. So it was merely a rebranding. At some point, I thought that it wasn't vanity, right? It was something that I took from restaurant owners, say in France or Italy. You always go. You don't normally have them having names. You go to Mario's or Chez Michel or something like that, where the chef basically, puts his name on the sign outside the door, so everyone knows it's him. It's his responsibility. He's the one that feeds people. So I thought I'd use pretty much the same concept. And I am someone that doesn't hide behind a brand. It's my fund, and here I am with my name.
So how big is the fund, Mikhail? How big is your fund?
It's a small one. It's just about $15 million of initial assets. It's grown since then. It's going about 2-3 times, something like that. But it's it's still good. It's got about 20 companies. It used to have 20 companies in the portfolio. It had some exits, so they are quite diverse. If you look at them at the first time, you've got about 12 verticals. You've got sports tech, health tech, mining, as in metals and mining. You've got Prisma, you've got Earth AI, you've got iFarm, which is ag tech, but they're all united by the idea that they have artificial intelligence in the sort of middle of them, at the core of them. It's something that they not just use as a side tool, it's something they base their business on.
And so what kind of, so if you look at the exits, I know you did Prisma, right? Was that sold, or is that still?
It's still in the portfolio. It's still in portfolio. We're still enjoying it. It's in fact, it's the second company that we had in the fund. We're the first investor, and still there.
And then, what's the biggest exit that you've had?
I'd say the biggest so far was. That's a good question. We had a few. The biggest in terms of publicity was probably Masquerade. That was sold to Facebook back in 2016. That was huge. We even got Mark Zuckerberg to wear that mask, and it led to all the Instagram and Facebook filters.
He put the Iron Man mask on, right?
Yep. It was a huge thing, and well, not now, but I used to have people in conferences coming over to me every single time and saying thank you for putting Belarus on the maps of Facebook. So yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, that's amazing. Boy, times sure changed since then, huh?
Times are pretty much the same every single day since the beginning of Earth, I would say. It's the technologies that change, but the rest still stays the same.
And so how do you find the companies?
I normally, I've got a lot of inbound traffic, and some people say that a cold outreach does not work. It's not the case with me. I read every single email or message on LinkedIn or whatnot that comes to me. So that's one source of the deals. I've got a network. I've got a name, basically, so people know me and kind of recommend startups to me. Plus, obviously, we participate in accelerators such as Y Combinator. I'd say about half of my portfolio is there. Either I entered the companies after the accelerator on demo day, or they went to YC after we invested in them. Had a couple of those there as well. It was fun.
And so what geography has the best startups right now? Where the most of the startups come from? Is there any one place?
Not particularly, no. We are pretty much country agnostic. About 40% come from Silicon Valley. We've got companies in France, Australia, Latvia, used to have one in Lithuania. So it's pretty diverse all over the world. Just like you said, it's spread all over the place, and the opportunities, I would say, they are there as well, all over the place. You just need to look for them.
What about generative AI? Are you hearing much about generative AI? Are you interested in generative AI, or what's your?
It will be kind of hard not to hear about generative AI, even if I wasn't interested in this subject. It is certainly a hyped issue. I'm not that particularly bullish on that. Obviously, it's a big thing. It's interesting, but I think people put too much hope in it, and it has its dangers as well. Because to a common person, it looks like the epitome of what AI should be. Given the name artificial intelligence, it's something you can talk to. It's this Deus ex machina, if you want. and people put lots of confidence and trust in it. Plus, people are going to start, well, they are already using it as a scapegoat, but it's a fun concept. Some of my portfolio companies are looking to implement that, but everyone proceeds with caution, which is good.
Interesting. And so, what's the future look like? Are you going to build a bigger fund, or are you going to keep the fund the same size? What's your idea in terms of growth of the fund?
Well, I mean, this fund is fully invested, so the time is now to raise a new one. I am raising a new one. It's going to be, well, when we started the first fund back in 2016, I'm not very good at delegating, so I always knew that the team is going to be compact. I always worked in compact teams. So the investment universe would have to be something niche, having a good investment potential, having good growth potential, but niche. And we made a huge mistake of thinking that AI is this thing. It is going to be niche. It was a big mistake. It was, but obviously, as we all know, AI is not niche. It's pretty much pervasive. It's all over the place now. So I was glad to make that mistake. My new focus is going to be another niche thing. It's going to be industrial AI. If you try Googling it, it's not that popular. I understand why, but I think it's got lots of potential, and I hope it's going to be a niche one. I hope, if I'm mistaken, I hope to be, to make the same mistake as the AI in general. It's very underestimated. It's got lots of, I would say, it gives me a bit of an unfair advantage, because on the one hand, you've got startups that do things that are not really popular. You don't read about them every day. They are boring. They're difficult to understand by the regular VC funds. Someone who does metals and mining comes over and gets asked, what's your LTV? What's your cost of customer acquisition? And this is just a huge opportunity there just by bridging this gap. And given my industrial experience, I've always liked that. I always was, how would I put it? I mean, I was very excited by huge factories, large mechanism. I mean, show me a great truck and I'll be walking around it for an hour. So I think we are a good match, the industry and myself.
No, that's great. I mean, you're right about it. I mean, the problem is we have infobesity. There's too much data around us, and if you look at it, the amount of data on the planet Earth today is about 123 zettabytes. If you took DVDs or CDs and stacked them one on top of another, it would go 94 times between the Earth and the Moon. Then the challenge is, Mikhail, and this is something that, is a pet peeve on my side, get your thoughts on it, but, in your own personal cloud, you got about 300,000 items. Well, the entire web in 1996 was 257,000 websites. You, Mikhail, have more information in your personal cloud than the entire web. The problem in Mikhail's world is following the same trajectory as the web. But that'll mean it's doubling every year. In 5 years, you're going to have 10 million items. How in the world? How many times the last 2 weeks has somebody said, I sent you a message. Did you get it? Where'd you send it? Telegram, Signal, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, etc. Or one of your email addresses. When did you send it? I sent it 3 days ago. Let me check. I can't find it. Send it again. I just had happened to me with the COO of one of the largest companies in the U.S. this morning. Right? It's just a problem. We need to solve this challenge. And these technologies, and I've been involved in AI for 26 years personally, and this generative AI with David Yang in the last 9 years with Even Findo. And so if we look at it, the challenge that we had before is people didn't understand how to use it. Now the situation is we really don't have a choice because we've got so much data, we can't make sense of it anywhere. We need something that has compassion and emotion and empathy to be able to help us. And this next generation of tools, as long as we manage them properly, right, are going to help us, as long as they don't get away from us.
Well, that's AI regulation sort of creeping in, but that's a huge topic. But I mean, this is more, I would not say this is the industrial AI I am interested in. I'm more interested into, machinery, metals and mining and this kind of thing. Yes, those places also have loads of data lakes and all that. And yes, this is very underutilized, but I don't think they're looking for compassion. They're looking for profits. And this is where, I'm hoping to help them.
In what ways do you help them?
Well, I don't know, let's look at the current portfolio or the fund and take, say, Earth AI. It's a company that uses satellite data to find deposits of minerals. It uses something like 10 times less drilling. It doesn't hurt the environment. It speeds up the process by the orders of magnitude, like 2 or 3. So obviously the savings are there, the success rates increase, and everyone's happy. The planet is cleaner, the metals are found quicker, and we all know how big a problem the rare earth metals nowadays are. Take lithium or germanium or any of that. That's the quickest example. You had this experiment with one of the largest steel factories that used AI to how steel is made, right? You take iron, you put in ferrocomposites to make it harder. You need a very precise measure of ferrocomposites to put it. So AI helped to reduce the amount of ferrocomposites put in the iron while keeping the steel exactly the same grade. These are savings right there. And huge corporations, you save them 1-5% on the margin. It results in billions of dollars in capitalization. That's another example. There's loads of stuff there.
So you think that from an industrial standpoint, there's a lot of growth. Where do you think top 3 areas if we, using generative AI, unsupervised, semi-supervised, AI, rules-based, where do you think to take the top 3 areas, the top 3 opportunities, where would you say they are today? So if somebody's out there and says, I want to build a startup, what should they be focusing on today?
Obviously in industrial, as we discussed, food tech and med tech. Because we always are going to be needing industry. We always are, unfortunately, going to be falling ill one way or another, and chances are we'll still be eating.
Well, by 2050, we have to double the food supply to feed everybody and can't increase the number of cattle because 26% of the pollution is methane gas from cows. So we need to figure out how to be able to do more plant-based protein, right? This is and then increase crop yield from the farm to the table and dramatically increase crop yield. And what does that mean? We got to figure out how to be able to make that soil stay better longer. We need things like vertical farming. We need to get down through and use computer vision and robotics to be able to help us. And these challenges, and then you got the problem with population going from 8.1 billion to 13 billion by the end of the century. We got to
you just went exactly through my portfolio logic in the agriculture sector. I've got vertical farmers and I've got robots that harvest tomatoes.
Yeah, we do too. We have companies like Mediotrack, right? So that's the challenge. It's not if it's going to happen, it's when. And if the world, the Indian Ocean's up 6 degrees Fahrenheit this year. I don't know if you know that from last year. So
I kind of noticed that.
Yeah, there's been dramatic increases. And if we look at it, the way it's increasing now, this idea of not having enough food and then having to go further north, right, to northern countries. I remember working on a project many years ago with a guy who was a student of Albert Einstein at Princeton. And many years ago, actually, he was 80 years old when I started to work with him. And he was telling me we're doing long-range weather forecasting models using nonlinear methods, right? Typical weather forecasting is using linear methods. We use nonlinear methods. And he was telling me what was going to happen, putting global warming in now. And he was telling me then, this is 1992. And I was like, yeah, right, this is going to happen. But let me tell you, that guy was spot on. It's unbelievable, actually. And so, we have to get down through. And as we're going down, in my opinion, farming, we got to look at, what places are going to be underwater, right? Average sea level could be up 5 to 9 feet around the world by the end of the century.
So, what's wrong with the water? You can, the seaweeds, they are edible, and people have been consuming them for hundreds of years, for centuries. So it shouldn't be a problem. But yeah, you should predict whether you should grow, corn or seaweed. Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, the thing is, and where do you go, right? I remember him telling me that the Gulf Stream's slowing down, and that when the way you'll know it is when it starts to snow in the UK. I remember him telling me that then. I'm like, yeah, right. And it started to snow in the UK. If you look over the last few years, it's kind of increased the amount of snow. He said, because it means it's slowing down because it warms the UK. It's going to be interesting. But he
Well, I
said,
remember snow back in the UK. Back in 1994, it was snowing. So I wouldn't say it sort of happened, in the recent years.
no,
It's
no,
always
but
been
the
there.
frequency of the snow going on.
That is probably good because I mean, remember those 1 or 2 days in the winter when they was snowing and the whole transport system just collapsed. I mean, so that if you start getting that more often, chances are they're going to get used to it, and it's probably a little bit better.
Yeah, well, let's hope so, right? So, what do you
Yeah.
think? What's your prediction for, if we look at over the next, let's say 2 years, right? What's your prediction in terms of the market? Where are the best opportunities going to be? So, we know where we are now. What's going to happen over the next 2 years? What would say is an area that's going to be really keenly interesting for you? Top three.
I'm not entirely sure the bear market is over yet, so chances are we're going to see some new bottoms. I'm not entirely sure if it's going to be a soft landing or a hard one. I mean, that's depends on way too many factors, but chances are we're going to go lower a little bit, and that's probably good for investments. I think that funds that vintages 2023, 2024 are going to be demonstrating good results. Companies forms in these periods are going to be demonstrating good results. So pretty much anything that that is good has a lot of potential, and that's I think
What
that
is good, Mikhail? What does good mean?
good in the sense of I mean, in the last 5-7 years, people started building. I wouldn't call them businesses. I wouldn't call them proper companies. There were machines built to raise the next round, which I would say is an aberration. It's not something that should happen. And this is, kind of gradually gets washed out of the market. So, companies that think about, bottom lines, about efficiency, about being able to survive on their own without external funding, these are the companies that I consider good.
Yeah, well, we should have been doing this all the time. But what happens is we develop irrational exuberance, and then everybody starts plowing money into these companies, and they start going through the roof. But I got to tell you right now, I'm seeing another wave happening right now. I'm in Silicon Valley right now, and I was in Austin yesterday at the Reuters AI conference, Momentum. What I'm seeing is quite interesting. This focus on generative AI is actually starting to pull the market in and a lot of the things that I do, pull the market back up again. I'm seeing a lot actually. And I remember back in 1997, 98, when I started one of the first e-commerce consulting companies, when they said Amazon was just for books, it feels like that again. It feels like you can feel something happening again. You can feel the rumbling. You know what I mean? So this is a little different because you're right. It's so pervasive. It's a horizontal, not a vertical. I mean, AI applies everywhere, right? So,
Yeah.
and yeah, you said you're in med tech. I mean, think about it. Everybody wants to live longer, and using the technologies that we have to be able to do things like drug discovery and to be able to help us come up with drugs, and then hyper personalized. One of my companies, he's a neurosurgeon from Yale University, and he developed a company called MedMatch Network. So how to make the patient doctor relationship more streamlined, right? All the challenges that happen there. It's fascinating, actually. So we're coming up to the top of the show. Mikhail, what are your closing thoughts, and how do people get a hold of you? So there's startups out there or other investors interested in investing in fund. What's the best way?
Well, you can easily find me on LinkedIn, on Facebook. You can always drop me a line, send me an email if you don't mind. That's mt@taver, Taver.capital. And like I said at the beginning of our show, I always read your emails. It doesn't necessarily mean I always reply to them, because, I mean, just saying no is not how I roll. If I say something, I would prefer to, put a paragraph of text there so the person knows why exactly am I saying what I said. So I prefer to not answer, but I'll read every single thing that comes to my mail or messengers.
No, that's great. Well, Mikhail, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. And
Thanks for having me,
Brian.
Gary.
We appreciate it. And thanks to all my audience for joining one more time. GSD presents Silicon Valley AI and Tech. And my name is Gary Fowler, and I'm your host. I will be back again next week with another exciting edition. Stay happy, stay safe, and stay healthy. And I'll be back at you again. Thanks again, Mikhail.
Thanks, Gary.